What if everything you believed about the royal family, the bloodline, the legacy, the right to rule, was based on a lie, not a rumor, not tabloid nonsense, but cold, clinical, undeniable DNA evidence? What if a test, one you or I could buy at a local pharmacy, just cracked open a centuries-old secret buried in velvet halls, whispered only behind thick palace doors? And what if that secret meant that the man wearing the crown right now may not be the rightful king? Sound impossible? That's exactly what they wanted you to think. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. But everything changed at 3:12 a.m. when Prince William received a call that would rip apart the foundation of the monarchy and start a story they could no longer control. And make no mistake, this is no side scandal. This isn't Harry and Meghan throwing shade across the Atlantic. This is a full-blown bloodline crisis. One that rewrites the royal storybook, page by page. And yes, William really did say the words we were lied to for decades. But what was the lie? Who told it? And most importantly, who's the real heir? Let's start at the beginning, the moment the secret cracked. Middle, the night that shook Kensington Palace. The silence of Kensington Palace at 3 a.m. is sacred. It's not just quiet, it's dead still. Guards rotate. Lights dim to preserve security. Everything is rehearsed, even sleep. But that night, something broke the script. William had just gotten back from a late event with Catherine. Nothing unusual. A few formal photos, a charity toast, and home by midnight. He'd kissed Charlotte goodnight, checked his emails. And then, just as he started to undress for bed, the secure line on the east wall rang. That phone doesn't ring unless it's serious. The voice on the other end? Calm, clipped. From the Prime Minister's office. Code clearance. Immediate readout. A sealed packet had arrived. One that bore both the royal seal and the Crown Intelligence Directorate tag. Kate was already sitting up in bed when he hung up. She asked, "What is it?" William hesitated. Then came the line that would hang in the air for hours. "They say it's about our bloodline." Now pause. Ask yourself, what would you think in that moment? You're second in line to the throne. Your father is the king. Your entire life has been groomed for one role. But then, someone tells you your bloodline may not be what you think it is. Would your mind flash back to childhood moments that didn't make sense? Conversations cut short? Facial resemblances that never quite lined up? That night, William couldn't sleep. And Catherine, known for her calm, reportedly cried quietly on the floor of their dressing room for nearly an hour. Because what they were about to open the next morning was a file labeled Case Windsor 1894, Succession Irregularities Sealed. Why this story matters now? Let's be honest, the monarchy has had its share of scandals. Affairs, divorces, abdications, Diana's heartbreak, Andrew's disgrace, Meghan and Harry's exodus. They've all rocked the institution. But none of those truly threaten the line. None of those cast doubt on the bloodline that determines who rules and who doesn't. Until now. This story matters because it changes everything. Not just for the Windsors, but for the UK, the Commonwealth, and even global diplomacy. The line of succession isn't just ceremonial. It's written into law, into treaties, into the minds of millions who grow up watching royal weddings, coronations, and Christmas speeches. And if that line turns out to be based on a paternity lie, then the very crown itself sits on shaky ground. Now ask yourself, why would the palace ever admit this? Why confirm the rumors? Why now? Because the truth was coming out, whether they liked it or not. And William, bound by duty but also torn by truth, knew that the only way to preserve the monarchy was to risk burning it down. Setting the stage, a century-old secret, a 21st century discovery. Let's rewind. The file marked Case Windsor 1894 wasn't new. It had been opened before, decades ago, but it had always been quietly resealed, passed on from monarch to monarch, marked only for immediate heir only, eyes only. Its origins? A scandal involving an affair in the late 1800s, one that was never fully proven but always whispered among inner circles. Back then, DNA testing wasn't an option. It was all rumor, reputation, and royal muscle to squash the tabloids. But in the last decade, private labs, forensic archives, and even recreational ancestry tests have shifted that balance. And then, 3 years ago, something slipped through the cracks. An anonymous technician at a private clinic noticed a mismatch in a blood sample labeled under a royal pseudonym. It didn't align with the publicly accepted Windsor paternal line. The sample was quietly flagged. Archived. Months later, a second sample, from another family member, confirmed the anomaly. And then, in a security breach that remains under investigation, that information was passed along to a retired MI5 officer, who'd once served as Queen Elizabeth's internal security advisor. And that's when the call came to Kensington. The weight of legacy, William and Kate's private reckoning. Now think about this. William isn't just a prince. He's a father, a husband, a future king. And now, someone is telling him he might not even be a rightful heir, or worse, that someone else might have a stronger claim. Sources say William didn't speak for nearly 2 hours after reading the full report. Catherine, always composed, reportedly asked one question. What does this mean for the children? Because if William's claim is in doubt, so is Prince George's. Everything they'd built, everything they'd planned, the future of the monarchy, suddenly written in pencil, not ink. And yet, there was more. The file included references to a missing relative, someone known only to the inner circle, possibly a man alive today, with blood that matches and a story that was erased. That detail, just one paragraph, would change everything. The global implications, why the palace couldn't stay silent. You might be wondering, couldn't they bury this? Couldn't the palace, with all its lawyers, traditions, and secrecy, just deny everything? They tried, for a while at least, but the information had already been passed through unofficial channels. A former royal physician, a Commonwealth diplomat, a cousin of Charles who'd quietly been watching the rumors swirl, and most importantly, someone in the press got wind. That's when the royal family did something they've rarely done before. They got ahead of the scandal, not by revealing the entire truth, not yet, but by issuing a cryptic but chilling statement. Recent reviews of historical royal documentation and medical records have prompted an internal investigation into matters of personal and familial interest. No further comment at this time. Translation? Yes, something's up. No, we're not ready to say what, but insiders confirm. The decision was made to tell William the full truth, not the watered-down version, because the secret wasn't just about him. It involved a name, a face from royal history long forgotten. A man once photographed alongside royals, but never listed in official records. A man whose DNA may change everything we thought we knew about the crown. Ending cliffhanger, the name that will rock the throne. Here's what we know. William and Kate were told a name. A living relative. A shadow figure. Someone with royal blood, and a stronger claim than anyone ever expected. And now, that person has made contact. They've hired a lawyer. They've submitted formal inquiries to the crown. And they're preparing to speak. But before that name is revealed, before the claim is made public, we have to go back. Back to the beginning of the cover-up. Back to the secrets buried in Buckingham's private archives. Because the next chapter isn't just about DNA. It's about identity. It's about betrayal. And it all starts with a sealed envelope marked 1894. What would you do if a single phone call shattered everything you thought was true about your identity? What if your entire existence, your name, your future, your legacy, was tied to a lie? A lie sealed in silence by the most powerful family in the world? That's exactly what happened to Prince William. And the worst part? He had no idea it was coming. No warning. No whispers. No clues. Just a secure call in the dead of night. And a truth that would forever change the crown. It was the kind of moment that didn't belong to history. It didn't belong in books. It belonged to nightmares. The ones where the floor beneath you disappears and everything falls with it. That moment came at exactly 3:12 a.m. when the phone in William's private study rang. And what he would hear on the other end would burn a hole in royal history. The call no prince ever wants. They say you can hear the difference in a call before a word is even spoken. The tension, the static, the tightness and the silence. That's what William felt. The line was direct, not intercepted by aides or security. A red wire, known only to a select few, that rang only when the situation couldn't wait until morning. On the other end was a senior official, someone William knew, trusted, but his voice was different this time. Lower, heavier, careful. Your Highness, he said, there's something you need to see. A file. It's urgent. What kind of file? William asked. A pause. It concerns you. Your family. We're delivering it to the palace by 6 a.m. It's been marked succession level confidential. Do not open it unless you're alone. Succession level confidential? That's code for, this affects the throne. The night the walls started talking, William hung up the phone and just stood there. For a full minute. Silent. Catherine, who'd been half asleep, now sat up fully alert. What is it? William's voice was tight, distant. They said it's about our bloodline. The words tasted wrong even as he said them. Like poison. Like prophecy. He didn't have answers, just dread. Together, they sat in silence, wrapped in a fog that wouldn't lift. Kate reached out and touched his arm. Do you think this has something to do with the rumors? What rumors? The quiet ones. The ones they'd ignored. The whispers that someone, somewhere in the extended Windsor web, wasn't who they claimed to be. A face that looked too familiar. A photograph that never should have existed. A name that kept appearing, then vanishing from records. But rumors are one thing. Files marked Succession Confidential are another. That's when Kate said something that cut through the air like a blade. If they're questioning your bloodline, they're questioning George's too. By dawn, the crown was cracked. At exactly 5:58 a.m., a black Range Rover pulled into the private lane behind Kensington. Two men stepped out. No words. Just a case. Inside, a single folder. White. Sealed. It bore the crest of the Crown Intelligence Directorate, a department so secret most citizens don't even know it exists. Stamped in thick red ink. Case Windsor 1894, active status. Eyes only. William opened it slowly, as if touching it too fast might ignite it. Page 1, a brief. Page 2, a DNA profile. Page 3, a list of known matches and anomalies. By page 4 his hands were shaking, not because of what it said, but because of what it confirmed. A 1995 DNA test, long buried, had revealed a discrepancy in a direct male Windsor line. A discrepancy that had been quietly buried, under the Queen's direction, decades ago. But now, through a separate set of genetic tests tied to a private medical program, that same anomaly reappeared. This time, it traced directly to William. The ghost in the bloodline. The report referred to a figure by a code name, Subject M. Male. Similar age to Charles. Shared genetic markers. Yet missing from all public records. Subject M's DNA had turned up unexpectedly during a genetic study involving Commonwealth blood donors. One that just happened to use a shared genome pattern tied to Windsor heritage. Who was Subject M? Why was his DNA a near-perfect match to royal lineage, yet completely disconnected from official succession? The implications were terrifying. There was someone out there, alive, whose genetic claim to the throne might exceed William's. Someone erased. Someone silenced. Or worse, someone who'd never known the truth. The palace reaction, panic in marble halls. William didn't call his father immediately. Instead, he called no one. He and Kate sat in stunned silence. The children were still asleep upstairs. The world was still dark, but the wheels were already in motion. Palace security intercepted chatter. Royal advisors were summoned. Queen Camilla, reportedly, was one of the first to be notified. And her response? He always knew. He, as in Charles. Did the king know this all along? Had he been guarding a secret about his own paternity? Or about someone else's? The file included one more line, handwritten in the margin, that froze William in place. See, letter from Elizabeth to Charles, 1982. Subject, confirmation of ancestry. A letter from the Queen? The weight of the crown, now questioned. As the sun broke across the London skyline, Kensington Palace remained silent to the outside world. But inside, two people stared at a document that made the entire monarchy feel like a lie. Imagine being raised to believe you were born to rule. Imagine being trained since birth to serve a country, a legacy, a destiny tied to ancient blood. And then, in a single night, finding out that blood may not be yours. Would you feel betrayed? Would you feel angry? Would you even feel real? William reportedly didn't cry. Not then. But Kate did. Because she saw the man she loved, the man the world saw as unshakable, collapse in front of her, not physically, but existentially. Who was he now? A prince? A pretender? Or a prisoner of a lie? The king's silence. Word eventually reached King Charles. Sources say his reaction wasn't confusion. It was resignation. He didn't ask for details. He didn't demand the file. He simply said, it was always going to come out. Think about that. The king, the very symbol of order and heritage, didn't question the scandal. He anticipated it. What does that tell you? What has he been hiding all these years? And why has no one spoken until now? The hidden heir. By now, you might be wondering.